Hey, it's Elisa, the Half Asian Tarot Queen, and I'm here to do another reading, starting with my trusty Mystical Shaman. I do want to remind you, I am going to be featuring this Muse Tarot in the reading, every reading in June, because this is the deck that we're doing the free giveaway with, and I'm going to put a link to the video explaining how to do that. It's very easy, and it's a lovely deck with beautiful artwork. And you'll be seeing it later on in the reading. But I'm going to start with the Mystical Shaman to just kind of see where we're at today. There's been a lot of fireworks from the full moon, for sure. And a lot of really dramatic changes that have been going on. I mean, some kind of historical changes. I've been talking a lot about Minneapolis because that's where I'm from. And in my shop, I've been talking a lot about my vegan cheese empire and the drama a lot associated with that in this thread called Vegan Cheese Empire. And it closed. That shop closed down. And I closed it down shortly before my father passed away. And so I've been going through this huge transformation in life. And it's crazy that that shop is now fully boarded up. It was like right in the heart of everything going on in Minneapolis. And yeah, I mean, just historic changes. And it's like we can't even really fathom the impacts of all these changes that are going to happen. You know, I mean, the whole police department in Minneapolis has been completely destabilized. So this is obviously going to have huge impacts for the city. You know, I'm talking to people from different communities, and like the reactions are really powerful. And it's wild. But anyways, I'm going to keep going with the reading. At the bottom of the deck, we have the corn. So this is a card of abundance, and that's actually a good omen. It's like reaping what you've sown, you know. So one aspect that came to me about, you know, kind of reaping what you sow, because I normally think of this card as a card of abundance, but today a slightly different meaning came to me because I was talking about reaping what you sow, and like right now, everything that's been going on with like coronavirus and all the rioting, and there's just like this great leveling of the playing field that's happening just across the board. And so everyone's being impacted, you know, our lives are being profoundly impacted, and it's just kind of like a wild card moment, you know. And so it's just like some people are doing, you know, being profoundly affected in a positive way, and for some people it's not, you know. And so I'm feeling this very like karmic element coming into play with this card today, where it's just like reaping what you sow, where it's just sort of like if you're in alignment with your destiny, and you're in alignment with yourself, and you're co-creating with the universe with positive intentions, then like you're very well going to have a very positive outcome. However, if you're like just like, for example, trying to cut other people down and just trying to get to the top by like tearing other people down, or putting really destructive intentions out into the world, then what you reap might actually not be that positive. You know, it can go either way. Like both things are happening at once right now. And so I'm getting like a cautionary message with this card today, where I usually don't always. I mean, it's usually more positive for me, but today I'm getting both. So there's something with that. Then the cards we got were the Tree of Life, the Sacrifice, and Magic. So the Tree of Life, this is a card of kind of like coming into balance with yourself and being in alignment with all of your chakras. But the tree also is inspiring you to kind of, I mean, have balance with all of your chakras, but, you know, like a tree plants roots like deep into the ground, so very grounded, you know, and deep into the unconscious, you know. But also the branches like sort of reach to the stars too, you know. And so this is a card of sort of balance, you know. It's just like when you are in alignment with your inner nature and you've planted really deep roots, you know, you're more likely to build upon a foundation that's going to be fulfilling to you, you know, rather than, like, for example, if you're just going through the motions, or, you know, you're working in a job that doesn't mean anything to you, or you're in a relationship that you're not really passionate about, you know, you're not building on a deep rooted foundation, you know. So it's just like a storm might come along and just like topple the whole thing over, you know, because it's not deeply rooted. Like, you have to be in alignment with your soul, you know. But then at the same time, you know, we can become like super mechanical too, you know. And it's just like, if we're not actually, like, I've kind of got it backwards. Like, I don't know why that is. Like, that probably means something that I got it backwards. But when we're not like in alignment with our heart's longing, you know, then that's a source of instability. But at the same time, when we're just totally dreaming and we're only like fantasizing and we're not rooted into the ground, and we're, you know, we're not being practical and we're not being logistical, well, that's a problem too, you know, because there's no stability in that. I kind of turned the tree upside down, and I'm not sure what that means, but it's like there's something there's something about that. But long story short, like, we have to have both. Like, we have to be connected with like our heart and our soul and what we want, but we also have to be connected with reality, you know. And like, if we're not, you know, then that's like a great source of instability too, you know, because, you know, that's what happens when we have these karmic reckonings. Like, whatever our belief system, or, you know, that we're operating under, it comes into like a reality check moment with, you know, the world around us. And it's like, if you're not in alignment with the reality around you, you know, there's going to be like a big dissonance, a disconnect, like major drama and conflict, you know. So it's kind of coming back to this, where it's just like, you know, depending on how you line up, you know, as far as karma goes, and like as far as this connection goes, like, this could be a really positive moment, or it could be a moment that just sort of like turns everything on its head too, you know. Like, both of those things, you know. And then this is this card of sacrifice. And so this is a card of having gratitude, and like also just like having faith in the universe to deliver, you know, the best possible outcome in your highest good. And that might not necessarily be like how you imagine things to play out. So it's just like putting your deepest desires out there and sacrificing them, but then also being able to let go and know that your needs are going to be met, you know, without having to like control everything, you know, or every outcome. And so it's like giving faith to the universe, you know. I mean, for me, one example that's happening right now is, so I had, you know, I've been working on my vegan cheese empire forever, and it's like my dream in life, and I had this like completely dream job that I was going to go overseas and work in Switzerland doing this, you know. But like right before this happened, like my dad passed away, and my whole family has come into this place of complete destabilization. And so it's like I kind of had to like sacrifice my dreams and put them on the altar and be like, okay, I got to take care of my family. This is important. And that was really hard for me to do, you know. But then like also having faith that like things are going to work out like how they're meant to. And, you know, this card is like a reminder that like when you have gratitude and you put this out there, you know, things are going to work out how they're meant to. And when you have a good intention and you put things, you know, what comes back to you will be like tenfold what you have sacrificed. So, you know, this card is an omen that, like, even though I like gave up like my most dearest dream, like, it's going to come back to me tenfold because I did it from a good intention, you know. And then to like add to that omen in a positive way, we have magic. So this is like signs and synchronicities and sort of a card of like miracles. And like, I will say that like I have been experiencing this, you know, because it's just like I've kind of had to give up everything, you know, in my life to kind of put what's important first, you know, and that was really hard for me. And it's also very uncertain, you know, because it's just like, oh my gosh, where is this going to go? You know, this is not what I had planned, you know. But then there's been all these confirmations from the universe that like I'm in the right place. So for example, my shop, my cheese shop that I closed down right before my father passed away, was literally in the heart of all the rioting in Minneapolis. I mean, just, it was like right there. I mean, it's all boarded up now. So it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm not there right now. Like, that would be a lot to deal with. It's clearly not a moment in time where I have the energy to deal with that, because like I have this family stuff that I got to be dealing with, and like it would have been a disaster for me, you know. And meanwhile, at the same time, I had this job contract to go overseas to work in Switzerland, which was my dream job, and I was so sad that I had to give it up because of all my family stuff. But then, literally, like a couple weeks after this happened, after I had to give it up, the whole coronavirus thing just completely blew up. And like, ironically, like my job was on the border of Switzerland and northern Italy. So it's just like, clearly it was a good thing, you know, even though it seemed at the time like I was having to give up all my dreams, you know. So it's just like the universe works in strange ways sometimes. And like, you know, we just have to have faith that, you know, things are going to work out how they're meant to, you know. So I'm going to the ethereal visions to get some overall energies for the reading. And I've got the Ace of Wands at the bottom of the deck. So that's a passionate, fiery start, you know. And, oh, well, the cards came out really fast. Okay, so for overall energies, we have justice, you know. So this is kind of what I've been saying. It's a card of karma and a card of wrongs being righted and just of justice being served. And then we have the World. So this is the end of one cycle of life and the beginning of a new cycle. So it's like you've kind of like almost like learned a spiritual lesson, graduated, and you're going on to this next phase of life, you know. And then we have the Three of Wands. So this is a card of sort of like, it's a card of manifesting and seeing off in the distance like what you want, you know. And it's not quite here yet, but like you're visualizing it and you're manifesting it, and like you can see it off in the distance. So it's just sort of like, despite how things look, like justice is being served, you know. Like even though it seemed like really sad for me to have to give up all my dreams, like justice is being served. Like it's going to work out for me. Not how I had thought, but it will, you know. And I'm kind of going into like a whole new era of life, you know, because life as I knew it before is completely, it's gone, you know. And then right now, like I don't know what that is, you know, and I'm starting to visualize in the distance like what that might be, you know, but it's not entirely clear what that is yet. So I'm going to the Muse Tarot to sort of get some clarification and see like if I can get some more information about what's going on. But it's definitely an interesting moment in time. And I mean, it's crazy because like when life as you know it sort of dissolves, and you suddenly have all this space, it's like you realize all these things that like you might have done with your life had you had the time or the energy, you know. And so it's like a luxurious moment to be able to consider all of these things, you know, I think, because yeah, for me, like while I was running my vegan cheese empire, I mean, it's an all-consuming sort of situation where you don't really have the time or the energy to like contemplate or, you know, dream anymore, because you do kind of become mechanical, because it's just such an overwhelming task, you know. Or at least I did. And so like that's something that it's like I almost had to take this moment to like reimagine life, because I was so entrenched in this groove of how I was living in the past, you know. Okay, so we have the Nine of Voices. So this is the Nine of Swords in a traditional deck. And it's a card of like fear and anxiety. And I think this is a card that often goes along with like big changes, because people are just like, it's like the ground underneath you isn't there anymore. So you're just like feeling like tossed about, you know. But like this is an energy that you definitely don't want to hang on to in this kind of moment, because you know what you attract is what you become. And so it's just like, this is not the energy that you want to be a foundational energy for, you know, how things are moving forward, for sure. You know, it's like that's an energy that you want to heal, you know. And then we have 10 of Inspiration, the Muse of Voices, and we have the 10 of Materials. So wow, this is really interesting, because the 10 of Inspiration in the traditional deck, it's like the 10 of Wands. So it's like there's this woman, she's carrying this jug of water, and there's all these jugs of water being carried up this hill, and it's just this like relentless burden, you know. But like we've got justice on top of that, and then the Tree of Life. So it's just like justice is being served, like this burden is coming into balance, you know. And that's kind of what this moment is about. Like we're bringing that back into balance. And then we have the King, the Muse of Voices, which is sort of like the King of Swords, you know. So this is a card of like harsh truths being delivered and just like cutting out the slop, you know. Like you don't have time or resources or anything for it, you know. And I think that's happening with everyone across the board with like coronavirus and the riots and everything that's happening. It's like there's no extra energy, you know, for things that aren't serving us anymore. I mean, like we all, for out of survival, are having to cut that stuff out, you know. And so it's just like leading to the end of one cycle of life, and we're all kind of having to simplify and distill everything down to like the most important. Like we're having to have gratitude, and we're having to offer up what we thought our dreams were up to the altar, you know, to make room for this new world order that's happening, you know. And then we have the 10 of Materials, which this is beautiful, because it's just like, look at this abundant tree with all these blossoms and these, you know, this family that's like dancing in a circle, like, you know, around the tree. And it's just sort of like, we've had to sacrifice life as we knew it, but actually there's all this magic and synchronicity, and we can see off in the distance this beautiful, abundant future, you know. And this is like, the 10 of Materials is like a card of like generational wealth. Like this is a card that like has come up a lot in a thread called Dynasty. And it was like, there was this King of Pentacles who was just kind of beaten down and had been like working, you know, really hard for a really long time, and learned this spiritual lesson and ascends to become this emperor, you know, and starts this dynasty, which, you know, that's like a card of like generational wealth, you know. And so it's like you can see in the distance like this new stability that's like coming online, you know. And then we have on the next row the 7 of Inspiration, the Page of Emotions, and the Knight of Emotions. So wow, you know, this is a card, and I love the artwork on how I feel like this is a totally different perspective on this card with this artwork in this deck, because the Seven of Wands is a card of like standing your ground. But I love how like this this person is like, it's like pushing aside the darkness to make room for this new light to break through, you know, like to break through all the barriers, you know, this new inspiration. But you're having to like push aside all these things that were like holding it back, you know. And so it's just sort of like this burden is being dropped to make room for this new inspiration, you know, like justice is being served, and we're coming into balance with like who we are now, you know, like this huge transformation is happening. And then we have the Page of Emotions, which this is an offering of love, like, but the beginning of this new love, you know. And this could be like also like love for yourself, you know, like it's like you're giving up all of your dreams or what you thought your dreams were, and ending this cycle of life, like having to cut through all this stuff. But it's making room for this like new beginning and like this self-love, you know. And it's like for me, like with my business and having to give up all my dreams, like that seemed so earth-shattering. But at the same time, like I was really burned out because I had been working like so hard. I had gotten way too skinny. Like I was just like kind of getting malnourished from all the stress, and like at, you know, I had gotten down to like less than 100 pounds. I mean, it was not good, you know. But it's like now I'm having this moment and I'm taking care of my mom, and like we're eating really good, and I'm like really focusing on both of our health, and like there's this new vision that's starting to come forward from that, you know. And so it's just like the magic of this moment is it's not working out how I thought it was, but we have this Knight of Emotions, which is like this is like a love offering that's coming in. Like even though it's not how I thought it was going to work out, like there's opportunities that are coming in. Like I'm realizing like I had been working, feeling like totally taken for granted, like nobody was appreciating what I was doing. But like once I like actually let go of all of that, you know, like these like job opportunities and like friends that like I had lost track of, you know, all of a sudden like people, you know, people and opportunities are coming back around, you know. And so it's like giving breathing room for something like new to unfold, you know, which is actually a really good thing. So I'm going to go back to Ethereal Vision and pick 3 cards of guidance on how we're going to move through. Okay, I think this moment. All right, 5 cards fell out, but I'm just going to take them. So we got Judgment, High Priestess. So, you know, Judgment is a card of reckoning, and it's a card of, it's like right before this New World Order emerges, you know, but there's like karma, you know, and like balance. And then the High Priestess, you know, is a really powerful manifester, you know. So it's like this priestess is like having a reckoning, you know, like karma is being served. Whatever cycle that was that's like no longer around, it's just like things aren't working out how you thought, you know. But it's like you're kind of like cashing in your karma for the last cycle, you know. It's just like I kind of had to like give up my dreams on a platter, you know, and it didn't work out how I thought, and it was super disappointing, and I kind of got screwed with my whole business situation, and it seemed super unfair and unjust. But actually it's like I'm cashing in the chips, like I'm cashing in my karma chips, because like I had good karma and like I did a good job, and even though it didn't pay off like in the way that I had thought, it's like I'm cashing the chips in, and now there's this new world order that's emerging. And because I had good relationships with people, and like those relationships are still intact, like the new opportunities that are coming online for me are like really great. And it's not what I would have imagined, but like it's like I almost had to like give up on like my conception of how things would work out so that I could be open to hearing these other ideas that were like not what I had thought of, but maybe better, you know, kind of like that. So for moving through this moment, we have the Queen of Cups, the Knight of Cups, and we have the Nine of Cups. So this is really beautiful because it's just like we've like let go of all this stuff that wasn't serving us, and like we've pushed aside the darkness to make room for this new inspiration. Justice is being served. We're coming back into balance, and like now this really speaks to the reading from yesterday, which was, or the last reading that I did, where it was just sort of like eclipsing out oppression and then starting to be able to operate from this heart-centered place. And so we've done all this healing, we've healed all this oppression, and now we're able to like be the wild woman where we're operating from this authentic heart-centered space. And it's like we're ending that drudgery and that cycle, and it's like things aren't working out how we thought, but that cycle's ended and our karma is being cashed in, you know, and so we're like able to let go of all these burdens from the last cycle and start fresh, you know, with a clean slate and this beautiful offer of love, you know. And it's just like we've gotten the Knight of Cups twice, you know. So it's like there's love all around. Like it's not what you thought, but like if your karma is good, like it doesn't matter, you know, like your wishes are coming true. Like that's what's going down, you know. And so I'm going to pick one card from Yogic Path to end the reading. But this is actually a really positive reading. And I mean, we're still fully in eclipse season, you know. So this is like when typically really big changes happen. And, or they kind of set in, you know. And that's clearly happening. But this is a really good reading, you know, even though there's all this instability and tumult out there, this is actually a really good reading. So I'm going to just get the, I'm going to read it to you from the book because, okay, so we got Asana. So this book has such amazing artwork. The 8 stages of yoga, physical practice to sit in stillness. Your physical body holds the key to your evolvement, but it's just the first portal. The asana, yogic body postures you have been practicing have been preparing you for true asana, to sit in stillness with the truth. These shapes and movements have removed the cobwebs of your limiting self, creating space for the silence of your mind's forest. You are one of those who realizes the true intentions of asana, and the one paving the way for others to see this bodily practice is really just a way to come face to face with yourself. Continue to cultivate your practice and move deeper into its core purpose, flow of energy in the body for the evolution of spirit. Wow. That's amazing. So it's like we're clearing away all this stuff that wasn't serving us, that we had kind of gotten overloaded with. Justice is being served. We're coming back into balance so that we can operate from a heart-centered place. And even though it felt like we were having to give up all of our dreams, you know, our karma carries forward into the next cycle. So it's like we're like cutting out all the burdens, but the love remains, you know. The love carries forward. And you know, there's magic that's born from that, you know. So it's like if your karma is good, you know, you're going to come forward into this new world and your wishes are going to come true, you know, not necessarily in the way that you thought, but the love remains, you know, the love carries forward. So it's a really beautiful reading. I wish you luck with that, and good luck with eclipse season, and we'll check in soon.